Hi there, it's me, Julia Lyons. Thanks for popping in. So the video I have for you today is with me and my dear client, Danyeal, and we're diving into a sacred council session. These sessions are so profound and healing. They provide a sacred space for you as the client, for us, to connect to spirit directly, to receive healing, guidance, insight, clarity, truly whatever you need at the time. So I have clients ask themselves before coming, what is up with me in my life? What is not going ideally? What are the trends that I'm noticing that continue to come up and manifest? And what do I need help with? What do I need support with? Where is there stagnancy or difficulty in my life? And so we went in and had the intro part that you will see here. And then we started doing the whole session, and afterwards realized that the mics had died because I'm still new at this and you really couldn't hear. So I'm posting just the beginning, and then we'll come back another time and I'll be posting more of the full Sacred Council sessions so that you can get an idea. But this is exactly what my remote healing and guidance work is like. So we can do this from anywhere in the world at any time. As long as you speak English, I can help you to hook up with the unseen realms and work the magic to heal, grow, get insights, and change your life. I hope you enjoy. And if you have any questions, please reach out below. Hi, Danyeal.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Thanks for doing this with me so that we can demo to the world how these sacred council sessions go.
Yeah.
So you know this because we've done this work a lot together, but we're gonna start and do a little grounding so that we can drop into the space together, set intentions, go over what is coming up. I'll be taking notes the whole time, so that helps me to track the threads and feel into the underlying energies where certain things may not seem connected but might be.
Mm-hmm.
And once we're done with our processing, we'll drop in, we'll get you comfortable laying down, and we'll go into what I call often journey space together. It is a meditative space. Some people call it dropping into the quantum realms, where you can have a direct experience and connection with fill in the blank for whatever lingo you use, spirit, your helping spirits, your guides, your higher self, to receive healing, guidance, insight, clarity, really whatever it is that you're needing, and give you what you need at this point, okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's close our eyes here. And as you know, anytime you feel like you need to move, shift, shake, sound, readjust, at any point during this is always welcome. As the energy moves, we often need to move our bodies for the energy to do what it's trying to do. So starting to breathe and really just inviting the natural ebbs and flows of your breath to move through you. Really letting the wisdom of your breath hone you into this present moment, into this sacred space that we've set here for you today to heal, to grow, to evolve. Mm-hmm. And as you drop more and more into this space, inviting yourself to breathe out anything that's just truly not needed here. To-do lists, busyness, wonderings. And you can do this with your mind's involvement of like, okay, breathe the to-do list out. But also sometimes our brains don't even need to be involved. Sometimes we can just breathe and allow the wisdom of our body and our breath to work together so that we can just trust that anything that is needed to come up in this space will, and that anything that's not needed will just fall away. And Sometimes it'll surprise you what things come up and what things fall away, but we always trust that in sacred space, it unfolds perfectly. Checking in with your body if you need to move or shift at all now that we're dropping in more deeply. And beginning your invitation to breathe into the earth. Breathing that connection that you always have to the Great Mother, to be held and nourished, supported, the give and receive that's always happening between you and her. And allowing that earth energy to come up and into your body to support this work today with you, with us. And then breathing in and welcoming the blessings from above, from the sun, the moon, the stars, the sky, and the heavens, to shine down upon and come into our space beautifully and perfectly for us today, to mingle with our energy and with the earth energy that's rising from below. And feeling that support from all angles, all sides. With your next full breath, formally welcome your compassionate helping spirits, your guides, your higher self, spirit, whatever you want to call it. Welcome that formally. Letting them orchestrate and guide this session with us today. And now starting to breathe into your heart. Letting all of this come into center and letting your heart be the central place of focus. And you can choose if you want to breathe just into your heart or if you feel like taking some breaths womb to heart, heart to womb. Your two hearts as a female-bodied woman. And from this place, hooking up with your center, I invite you to imagine in front of you an altar. And on this altar, you can put any prayers, any intentions, any asks that you have for this session today. And this can be done in any way. It might feel like sensation. It might feel like imagery of things that you need help with. It might be in words. Just really trusting that whatever it is, you can get up and out of your mind, up and out of your body. And on that altar, to really have that formal invitation of support from the unseen realm. So as always, take as much time as you need setting these prayers up on your altar. And then when you feel complete, you can slowly open your eyes and come back to the space between us. But of course, no rush. Okay, so what is up?
Well, the first thing was that my altar was a big red roses, like the entire altar, but the entire bottom half was all thorns holding it. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
That's beautiful.
And yeah, the first really big thing that came up for me was this idea of rejection that I've been dealing with for what feels like a month or two now. And I see it and feel it in whether it's like romantic relationship, my platonic friendships, or like business. And it's like, I feel like I'm hyper aware. So it is one of those things that I feel like there's a part that I'm looking for that evidence
to support
this
the story
idea
that you're being rejected, that
Yeah.
people don't like you or need you.
Yeah, it's like it can be either like or need me. And I think because I've been in a different chapter of my life where I don't get a lot of validation, like where I was working a 9-to-5 job, I was getting this like validation all the time and feeling this. And so I think that leaving my, well-paying 9-to-5 job and now like in this very different, kind of life, like living life setting is so different for me. So I think I realized too how much I did kind of like eat up that validation. And then when you're not getting it, because what I do is working with animals, which I get so much rewarding from that, and then doing like cleaning. And while you get thanks for those, it's not the same kind of validation that feeds the ego and feeds whatever I'm needing that for. So I think that like I'm aware of whether it's having, a client, for example, that, she got fired from her job, so she couldn't have me as a dog walker. She couldn't afford it and didn't need it at the time. And feeling that as a rejection, and or having a friend that just needs some space in general, not just from me, but just like struggling with their own burnout and feeling like, oh, what's going on? Well, like this rejection piece of that. Or I did become vulnerable with a friend and kind of let her know in terms of what I was feeling with some things that she came at me with. And I felt rejected from that even by being like my true self and feeling this rejection piece of just saying like, hey, how you came at me with X, Y, and Z kind of like didn't sit well with me. And then feeling like she didn't hear me at all and just kind of rejected even more in a way. So I think that
like didn't end well, so it kind of enhanced what you were already
kind of like feeling with
it.
Yeah. And so I know that it feels like this overall like rejection. Like I've been like struggling for like, months now in terms of like finances and this, like all of this stuff. And I feel like I'm living more surviving rather than thriving. And it kind of sucks, honestly. And so, I don't know if it's like this overall feeling of like, man, I feel like rejected by the universe, rejected by just everything right now. Yeah.
Well, that's a whole big one there.
Yeah.
Was there anything else that came up for you on your altar?
Yeah, it's not just like a one area in my body. I feel like I've just felt uncomfortable in my body for a while too. Just this like discomfort, and I tend to feel it the most in my solar plex area, but it's just this overall, and I can't pinpoint it exactly. It's just uncomfortable.
And how long has that been going on? So you said, sorry, the rejection has been 1 to 2 months?
I would say like 1 to 2 months of that for sure going on. Yeah.
And then with this discomfort in your body, might be hard to think back. But.
Yeah, that has been honestly kind of like the same time. So I don't know if it's obviously, well, it could all be related and stuff, but I think there's just been a lot of things coming up that's just been so uncomfortable. So I'm just constantly feeling this like, this uncomfortableness in my body.
Yeah.
And then I think other is like realizing, and I think again, it's all like tied in, is like really this deep lack of like confidence in myself. After us working together for that time, and like I felt like I had such a purpose and had this, and then when I left out of that, I feel like I just kind of got to this place where I'm just feel like I'm just trying to survive, and I'm not really doing anything that feels like truly passionate for me. I think I feel so drained that I'm not able to even tap into that, and what's interesting is that I have been actually working with Wild Rose, so that, with the altar and stuff like that. But so I'm trying to like tap into those things, but I'm having a hard time tapping into more of my spiritual self, that spiritual side of myself. it's like sometimes I feel like I'm either all the way up there or like I'm just all down here, and I want that kind of like cohesion together.
And let me just catch up on my notes. So I mean, I will also just say, like, so we did, you know this, but the people watching don't, that, you know, we did a really intensive professional deep dive together for a 3-month period. That is such a big, expansive, like deep, but not, it's not like deep this way. It's like deep, you know, like expansive in all the directions, you know, it's like up, down, left, right. And it is a lot to integrate from. And during that time, like, we were working together so regularly and consistently. And, you know, really, like, my job in that time is not only to like show up and do the sessions and the work with you, but I'm essentially like holding your life. Like, I'm holding your spiritual growth, but that really is just like your whole life in a way, you know, during that time period. And so it's a lot to step out of that. Like, and that, you know, that's why we always talk about like integration, whether it's from a single session, a container, a plant medicine ceremony, a like physical trip or journey where you like travel. Integration is so intense, and it, although it's not ideal, and it does make sense to me that like having such an expansive time for that entire 3-month period and a little bit after, like, it makes sense that you would be faced with, first of all, how do I integrate having that deep, constant spiritual connection afterwards and like on a daily basis, but also to be like, boom, reality. This is where I am. Let's look at like the earthly realm in a big way. And, you know, I always find it interesting, like with myself, for example, of like when I have homework, I will like do the homework usually. I'd say I'm like a B student with that. I'll like do the homework. But when it's like needs to be self-initiated is oftentimes, not always, where it's much harder for me to take care of myself, to just do a literally 5-minute journey to like receive healing and feel better in my body, or to like ask for help or whatever it is. So it's one of those things that's like unfortunate, but it also makes perfect sense. And the other thing I wanted to just like validate is, you know, like finances, job stuff, like that is all primal. Like, it's so modern, but it's all primal, because in this reality, money is first chakra stuff. It is foundational. You cannot, you know, people say, oh, like first chakra, like primal base things that you need are like food, shelter, water. Okay, well, how do you get those things? Like, in this reality, money is the gatekeeper for life. And if there is uncertainty or irregularity, or if our money, our income has like shrunk from having like super stable, high paying job, if that changes, like that center of energy freaks the fuck out. Rightfully so. Like, rightfully so. It's so valid. But then it is so challenging to like function, to not feel uncomfortable in our bodies, let alone to then have like spiritual connection, right? If we think of it, everything from like building from the foundation up, like you need food, shelter, water, aka you need money in order to feel physically safe, feel emotionally safe, feel, you know, and go all the way up. And then like in terms of the chakra system, it's like regarded that the spiritual centers are up here. So they're much this feels weird to say, but like less foundational. Obviously they're foundational for people like us. Like we also could not survive like that, but it's very challenging when those things are up and being worked through.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. It's like I can't really outpour, and that's what feels like, I think, discouraging, is because I feel like I'm in more of a survival like place for the last few months, especially, that I can't outpour energy out really to anybody else. I can't.
Right.
And like I
or
think,
even like creatively, probably.
yeah, and be creative, yeah, because I'm in this like, you know, this setting and everything, and it has been like, I feel like since last October up until like now, even, it's like it's just been constant form of the transitioning into something, and it's never just been stable, you know. And I know that like the only constant in life is change, but it's just not always easy to transition and then transition to this. Okay, now we're transitioning into this, and I might get like, you know, I was like getting comfortable in our container. And then like, oh, now we're out of it, you know? And now it's like this next transition. And now I'm just like, oh, what is going on? And it is like, there's moments where I'm like excited and pumped, being like, oh shit, I am like doing this. I am not like working for the big man. I'm working for myself. I'm doing this. And then other times you're like, this is actually terrifying, and I'm just getting by right now.
Yes.
You know? And I carry so much gratitude whenever like something flows in that's so positive. I'm like, thank you, more, thank you, you know. But still, it's not that, it's hard to carry that.
Totally.
And I miss like my spiritual self. I like that side. I miss connecting more to that. But I am truly just very disconnected because of like all the things that you shared, you know. And I appreciate the validation, because it's not easy.
No.
And it makes sense though, because I don't believe that money can buy us just true happiness, but money helps
especially if we have a good foundation of like being happy. In general.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
money, yes.
Come help us.
Yeah.
We love you.
Well, because like I know that like when I have that, like I can then help others.
Yes.
And that's what I want to do. I can't do it when I'm in survival mode.
No, you can't do anything.
And being creative is impossible, and thinking outside of the box and doing all these, it's just not, it's really difficult. So there's a lot of just like, I feel very discouraged. Yeah.
So check in. Of course, my like ordinary mind has all of these thoughts and ideas, but I'll just keep them to myself, and we'll see what comes up from the spirit realm. But go ahead and check in and see if anything else is coming up, or if anything else did come up when you were with your altar.
I think it's just, again, like it's only like the last piece, but I feel like it ties into like all the things, is like also feeling disconnected from myself. You know, like just authentically myself. Although I feel like I have shown up and done things outside of my comfort zone to show myself. So like that has been difficult, but also exciting. So I'm glad with that, but also that there is this kind of disconnection from myself in this, like authentically me, you know?
Yes. I'm kind of getting like I don't know, like image sense of like this lack of stability, whether just through, you know, your spiritual path of like the things that have come up, and then also with the finance and work stuff, is like, and also let's just speak to the fact that like this is what has been also happening in the collective for a while now, and like especially, and like, you know, people might view me differently, but like I also am self-employed, and even though I've grown my business and it feels successful and does well, like I still experience all of these things too. And I think just like in the collective for the past while, like I've really noticed it since like midsummer. I mean, there's always like flows and ebbs and whatever, but like since midsummer, it's just felt like something is going on and the people are freaking out. Like, and I know, like, because we're in America right now, and like last night was election night. And so I think especially every 4 years when we have an election, there is just this frenetic, chaotic energy, no matter which side you're on, where everyone is going, I don't know what the fuck is happening or will happen. And that, like, unfortunately, being in this country is like a crazy fucking thing. And especially at this time, it just feels so uncertain, and that is very real too. And like in the space, and it's not like just on election night or like the day after, it's building. It's been building for months. People are like, oh, it's almost time to vote, what's going to happen, things are going to change like one way or another. And that is a very chaotic, frenetic, unsettling energy, again, no matter who or what side you're. I wish it wasn't sides, but like right now, it's pretty much a two-party situation. Like, and it's designed to make us fear. And that has been permeating for everyone. It's in the ether. And so I just want to speak to that too, because not everyone that watches this might be in America, but like we are. And that's been a very real happening for us for the past while too. Uncertainty, change, things that are intentionally trying to separate people, like in the collective.
I feel that, and that does make sense. And like, because I'll notice patterns even within my friendships, like that they have things like similar, like whether it is like, you know, they're noticing like a lot of people are canceling, like people that have their own business, like everyone's canceling, or there's this or money, or but there is a lot of fear. And I think that ultimately, I think what does make me sad in terms of like political climate is I feel like really truly deep down, we all want the same things. Like we really do. Not everybody, not every single person.
There's always outliers.
But I feel like really
kind of
deep
like
down,
you really see that there's good in everyone, and that deep down everyone wants something good.
And we are really, I know that we're all on our own journeys, our own paths. There's a reason for all of these things to happen, but we all still are human, and we're going to have our human experiences with it. And being so sensitive, having such a big heart, that I'm like, oh, it's just, it does, like it weighs on my heart, because I want there to be more love than fear and hate and, you know, all of that. And so that's definitely, that's being, you know, that's coming up for me too throughout this. And that makes sense though. Because I think that it's like, I just love. I want to love all people, and I just don't want all this hate anymore. And not to not have anger, or not be upset over things, but hate and anger are obviously very different. And that's where, you know, it's a very difficult climate. It's a difficult climate to be in.
It's definitely an intense time to be alive, and with the intensity is just a lot of potent areas for us to shift within and without. So hopefully it can just be, you know, us alchemizing to make a bigger change, whether it's in an internal, you know, within our own processes way that then trickles out, or if it is in a more external way.
And we chose to come here at this time for a reason.
Exactly. And so trusting that like we have everything that we need to not only survive but thrive, and then to have an impact, again, in whatever way is authentic for us. I'm curious, so obviously, like for me, I'm like, oh, these are all interrelated, like these are definitely threaded together, like no doubt. I'll be curious to see what happens when we go into journey space, but even just in my normal like coaching mindset, so the base of all of these are like fear, fear of rejection. There is probably a fear in some way that is causing the discomfort in your body. Fear is lack of stability, discouragement, disconnection from self, like whatever. So I'm curious, it sounds like that's been kind of cycling through for a couple months now. And I'm curious, what, if anything, and there's no, you know this, but like there's no judgment if you're just straight up like, I haven't been able to do any of the things. but it's important to talk about what, if anything, have you tried or been able to do to consciously shift yourself out when you're noticing that you're feeling fear, discomfort, scarcity, any of like what we would call like the uncomfortable, like bad feelings. Obviously, we know they're not bad, but the things that aren't like the I'm hooked in, I'm abundant, like those types of things. Have you been able to do anything or try anything to shift that?
I do feel like I have a little, but to be honest, no, not as much, to be like, okay, I do things like in terms of like doing more like self-talk, which does help, like giving myself love, doing what I need with that. Honestly, connecting with my Oracle deck really does help me a lot. So I do that daily, even when I can't, even when I'm not able to do anything else, I do that,
Good.
Just giving like offerings to my altar and my spirit team, that helps me a little bit. But I know that there's absolutely more, and I don't mean it like, I'm not being hard on myself. I just know that there is more that like I could consciously do sometimes, but I am so stuck.
It's the hardest to do it when we're in
I think there was one day I reached out to you through WhatsApp. I can't remember. Oh, it was like when I lost 2 clients in 1 week. One was a house cleaning and one was the dog walk. And again, both really had nothing to do with me. But, I reached out and you had done the suggestion of, I think, like doing, like an offering or doing like something. And I did. I cleaned my altar and I did that. And that really did help me feel just a little bit like, because I think also it makes me feel too like I'm taking back a little of my power and control. Not control
100%.
in a negative, but just like my power from that. Yeah.
Well, like your control
of what can I control? What can I control in my life? Which
is like your mindset.
Yeah. Like, or what do I have power over right now? What can I do about this? I can't do anything about any of this, but I can do this.
And actually this, like just what you're saying, like this, like doing a ritual, having your spiritual connection, like strengthening that impacts this way more than, I mean, we know this, but like than what people would think. So actually when you like stop to do a ritual or have a ceremony, like I remember when you texted me, that was the day after I had gone to the creek with a friend and done an abundance ceremony. And at that time, like I was like really struggling, like, I've been saying like since the summer, it's been like, what's going on? Like I still like have clients and have been receiving, but it's felt more tumultuous. And we did that ceremony, me and my friend, at the river, and it was like a pretty instant change. Like I think I felt really good, and then maybe like a few hours later I was kind of like but then it like as the energy was integrating, but then it like totally evened out, and the impact that had shifted. And then it was like the next day you reached out and I was like, try doing like a simple ceremony or something. And it just sounded like so similar what you'd been going through. And the impact of that is always so profound, and it can be just the simplest of things.
And it is always interesting. I mean, nothing's like really coincidental, but that I reached out to you the next day after you just did something like that, though. And being like, and for some reason, I remember I was sitting in my car and being like, I just need to reach out to Julia and see if she understands, like she'll get this. Cause I'm like, what is going on right now? It was just like hit with like all of these things. And so
And sometimes it's like the universe is like, how hard do I have to make it before you do reclaim your power in one way or another? And so I love that you're, doing the Oracle deck and doing offerings and self-talk. And I just wonder too, like, what more could happen that could be anchored into your daily routine to just, like, I'm sure, this session will change things and get things shifting and moving in a different way. And I also just am like, okay, can there be something else that we just set as a goal for you? You can view it as homework if you want. Like for some people that puts pressure on them and then they don't want to do it. But for some people it's like, okay, Julia told me to do that. It kind of like just bridges it into your routine. But I just wonder if like, it would be different for everyone, but if like maybe doing like a 5-minute sit before your oracle pulling or afterwards, or doing a journey, but having something daily where it's like a stepping stone from one day to the next, that if it can be anchored into your routine, can just be like a hammock that just helps you propel forward, because these things are going to continue to change and evolve, but the more that we like hook into ourselves, or the more that like when the negative self-talk happens, or when oh, I'm being rejected again, it's because no one likes me, it's because I suck, when we can like catch that and do something potent to shift it. And potent doesn't mean it has to be elaborate, right? It can be like, I'm gonna like stomp my feet and move my body until it shifts, and then like, whoa, I feel so much better. Or I'm gonna do a little ritual or a candle spell or like something, but to reclaim our power and energy in those times, like when we step forward in those ways is when we're breaking the cycle of those feelings and thoughts having a hold.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I have like, and it was funny is like, I noticed like there's sometimes where I just need like love, right? You need like the love and the tender. And then there's other times where I'm like, fuck right off with these thoughts. Like, no, like, and I do that sometimes, like, and I don't mean it in this like, hateful way. It's just like, no, that is not true.
Yeah,
I do not think that, like,
accepting
that
like, thought story, that pattern.
Yeah. And I think I'm starting to more get to that, and not in an angry, bitter way,
no, it's like a power. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's this like power. And I think I've noticed that more happen is like when I had to have a difficult conversation with a friend recently, and I was like, you know what? The worst that's going to happen, we're not going to be friends. That's the worst thing that's going to happen. I'm doing it. I'm like, I'm over feeling small, or over whatever it is, like whatever I'm feeling. I'm tired of feeling rejected. Like, I have all these people that love me. If this person doesn't, but I think it does take a certain point to get that uncomfortable.
Yes.
To where you are. And I see that, I feel that it's like in every direction. Sometimes when I'm so uncomfortable, I'm like, okay, something needs to shift. Something's gonna shift. And I know that, but sometimes when you're really in the thick of it, it's hard.
It's totally hard every time. Yeah. Good. I mean, good stuff to work with.
Yeah.
So, I like to be thorough. Check in again. Okay. See if anything else is bubbling up.
I think it's still like, no, it's like a come through again of just like like some self-confidence, self-worth, and like realizing how much I did actually look for, not that like we like need validation sometimes, but like really seeking validation, like though outside of myself often. And that's a thing that's not gonna go well for me and everything if I'm constantly looking for that externally. Right. And so that's just like another theme that I feel like, again, is just tied into all of this, which we already said. So I think when I'm going in, they're like, this is where these are the big things.
Yeah. Okay, beautiful. So we'll shift here now and get you comfortable and dive in and see what happens.
Okay,
great.